So first of all, I would like to talk about the country profile. So Indonesia's geography, we're going to talk about the continent. So it's located in Asia, and the area is 1.9 million square kilometers. And mostly they have land 23.62% and the water 76.78% over the total area. Its borders are Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, and East Timor. The longest river is Kapuas River. It's about 1,143 kilometers. And for the climate, there are two seasons. There are wet and dry season. So after we talk about the country's profile, let's moving on to the country's flags. So there are two main flags, but we're going to talk about the first one, which represents the whole country. So the first flag, the name is Sang Saka Merah Putih, and the flag is a simple bicolor with two equal horizontal bands, red on top, white on bottom, with an overall ratio of 2/3. It was introduced in public during the proclamation of Indonesian independence on 17th of August 1945 in Jakarta and remained unchanged ever since. So the simple design has long history as it was first associated with the Majapahit Empire from the 13th to 16th century in eastern Java, whereas the color red symbolized courage and white for honesty. For the second flag, it is called Indonesian Navy's flag. The name is Ola Ola Perang, and they have two same color, red and white, but they have 9 alternating red and white stripes. Now let's talk about Indonesia's political system. So the form of government in Indonesia is democracy. It takes place in the framework of a presidential representative democratic republic. Both the president and vice president are elected through direct universal suffrage for 5-year terms. So the current president is Mr. Joko Widodo, and he is both head of state and head of government, and of multiple party systems. So executive power is exercised by the government. The president enjoys the executive power and appoints the cabinet. He is the commander-in-chief of the armed force and responsible for domestic governance, policy making, and foreign affairs. The legislature in Indonesia is bicameral. The highest representative body at the national level is the parliament of the country. The DPR, or House of People's Representatives, consists of 575 members. The upper house with 136 seats, each province electing 4 members on a non-party basis. However, the president cannot dissolve the parliament, but he has the power to veto bills. The people of Indonesia have limited political rights. For the main political parties, single parties have little chance of garnering power alone. Thus, parties often work together to form coalition governments. Primary representation in parliament consists of both nationalist secular parties and moderate and Islamic-oriented groups.
Indonesia is the most populated country of Southeast Asia with the largest economy. This country is also the world's fourth most populous nation and a member of the G20, the premier forum for international economic cooperation. Indonesia has succeeded in reducing poverty rate by more than half since 1999 to approximately 9.8% of the population in 2020. Before COVID-19, Indonesia was able to keep stabilizing economic growth for the purpose of reaching upper middle income status. The main sector of Indonesia's economy is industry, which contributes to 38.9% of GDP and employs 22.7% of the labor force in 2020. The industrial sector includes manufacturing of textiles, cement, chemical fertilizers, electronic products, rubber ties, clothing, and shoes. Indonesia's economy evolved from one that greatly depended on agriculture to an economy which relied on manufacturing. The agricultural sector contributes to 12.7% of the country's GDP and employed 27.7% of the active population in 2020. The service sector, such as financial institutions, Transportation and communications contributes to 44.2% of the GDP and employ 49.6% of the population. The banking sector has developed and expanded rapidly in recent years. Tourism is a major source of revenue, although the sector has suffered from terrorist threats in the past few years. Indonesia has at least 300 ethnic groups living on around 1,000 settled islands, which have their own language, custom, and way of life. The Indonesian culture is influenced by China, India, Europe, and the Middle East, while most of the population are Muslim. Indonesians love spicy, savory food. Recipes do vary from one locality to another according to the main crops in the area. Rice is a staple element in most regional cooking and the center of general Indonesian cuisine. Indonesians are traditional. Even though they are living in a modern world, they still find ways to integrate their traditions and cultural values into their current lifestyles. Indonesians are very gracious people who enjoy affection and friendship. By displaying enthusiasm in forming bonds with them, they will be very pleased and pay respect in return.
Current issues in Indonesia. COVID-19 is a serious issue that the world is facing right now. Indonesia is a country that has the most COVID-19 cases in Southeast Asia. It was confirmed that the virus has spread to Indonesia on the 2nd March 2020. The total number of COVID-19 cases in Indonesia is over 1.55 million people and over 42,000 people were dead. The pandemic has affected people in all 34 provinces. Recently, the government implemented restrictions on the conduct of public activities in Java and Bali on the 11th January 2021, and then followed by the micro-scale restrictions on the conduct of public activities on the 9th February 2021. The restriction is practiced at the village level. There are zoning areas in the neighborhood: green zone, yellow zone, orange zone, and red zone. In the red zone, crowds with more than 3 people are banned, as well as out-and-out activities started from 8 p.m. and public facility. Moreover, the government received 1,113,600 doses of vaccine AstraZeneca from the COVAX facility on the 12th January 2021, and then the vaccination rollout started on the 13th January 2021. By now, there are more than 5 million people were fully vaccinated, while 10 million people have only received 1 dose. The vaccination process aims to reach 181.5 million people by March 2022. The flash flood and landslide are also severe issues in Indonesia as it occurs every year during rainy season. The disaster occurred continuously in the middle of 2020. Recently, there were several landslide events happened in the beginning of April. On the 2nd of April, a landslide occurred in Salak Regency, West Sumatra Province, isolating 2,500 people across 4 villages. On the 5th of April, another landslide event occurred in East Nusa Tenggara and West Nusa Tenggara by the tropical cyclone Seroja. It affected more than 30,000 people, many were evacuated, and the death toll rose to more than 170 by 11th of April, and 45 people were still missing. The landslide had damaged at least 2,000 houses, and the environmentalists stated that the landslide mainly caused from deforestation. Beside from the virus and landslides, earthquake is also one of the most serious problems that has been affecting Indonesia for years. The most recent earthquake in Indonesia was on the 9th of April 2021 in Java and Bali. It has killed several people, injured 7 people, and had damaged more than 300 buildings, including government office, mosque, and other public buildings.